The door to classroom 7 opened with a soft hiss. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. 40 students from 12 different species looked at the small figure standing in the doorway. Stepped inside. She was 17 years old with dark hair tied back in a messy ponytail. Her jacket was old and worn at the elbows. In her right hand, she held a half-eaten nutrition bar. She looked completely ordinary. She looked like nothing special at all. Instructor stood at the front of the room. He was tall, almost 3 meters, with 4 arms and scales that shimmered like oil on water. He was one of the most respected species in the galaxy. He was also known for 2 things: his brilliant mind and his hatred for tardiness. The clock on the wall showed that class had started 7 minutes ago. Stopped mid-sentence. His yellow eyes narrowed. The room became very, very quiet. "And what," said slowly, "is this?" Looked at him. She took another bite of her nutrition bar. "Sorry I'm late," she said. "The transport was delayed." A ripple of whispers moved through the classroom. At the back, a human boy named closed his eyes and sighed. He had been at the Galactic Academy for 2 years. He knew what was coming. He had seen it before. "The transport was delayed," repeated. His voice was cold and sharp like broken glass. How very convenient, how very typical. He walked toward with slow, deliberate steps, his 4 arms folded across his chest. The other students watched with hungry eyes. They knew entertainment when they saw it. "Do you know where you are, little creature?" asked. "This is the Galactic Academy of Unified Species, the finest educational institution in 3 sectors. Students come here from worlds that have touched the stars for 1,000,000 years, and you walk in late, eating." Swallowed her bite of nutrition bar. "I said sorry." "Sorry," laughed. "It was not a nice sound." "Yes, I suppose that is all one can expect from a primitive." More whispers, more looks. The word spread through the room like fire. The students looked at with new eyes, some with curiosity, some with disgust, most with the kind of superiority that came from knowing they were better. A student near the window clicked his mandibles. There were large, insect-like creatures with armored bodies and sharp edges everywhere. They considered themselves the apex predators of the galaxy. The student's name was something long and complicated, but everyone called him. 7, said loudly. "That's what they call her planet. 7 levels of danger, extreme gravity, extreme weather, toxic atmosphere, radiation, predators." He made a sound like laughter. "It is amazing they survive at all." "They breed quickly," another said, "like vermin." "The galaxy's cockroaches," agreed. The students laughed. They clicked their approval. Even some of the smaller, quieter species joined in. It was safe to laugh at humans. Everyone knew they were weak. Everyone knew they were primitive. They had only reached space a few centuries ago. They were nothing. Did not react. She looked around the room for an empty seat. This made angry. He had expected fear. He had expected shame. He had expected the human to understand her place. Instead, she was looking for somewhere to sit down. "You think you can simply take a seat?" asked. His voice rose. "You think you belong here? Perhaps you should demonstrate why your species deserves a place at this academy at all." He gestured to the center of the room. There, built into the floor, was a circular platform about 2 meters wide. It was a gravity training device. Students used it to build strength and endurance by working against increased gravitational force. "Step onto the platform," ordered. Looked at the platform. She shrugged and walked over to it. The class leaned forward in their seats, gripped his desk so hard his knuckles turned white. He wanted to say something. He wanted to stop this, but he knew that anything he said would only make it worse. Stepped onto the platform. She stood in the center and waited. Smiled. It was the smile of someone who was about to enjoy themselves very much. He walked to the control panel on his desk and pressed a button. "Standard galactic gravity is 1 unit," he said, his voice now taking on a teacher's tone. Most civilized species evolved on worlds with gravity between zero point 0.8 and 1.2 units. Anything higher is considered dangerous. He pressed another button. This platform is now at 1.5 units. Stood still, she did not move, she did not bend, she looked bored. Whispers spread through the classroom again. 1.5 units was uncomfortable for most species. The weaker students would already be struggling to stand. Frowned, he pressed another button. 2 units. Nothing. Shifted her weight slightly, like someone adjusting their stance while waiting for a transport. 3 units. The class went silent. At 3 units, most species would be on their knees. Some would be unconscious. They could handle it, but even they would be sweating. Took another bite of her nutrition bar. Stood up from his seat. "This is a trick," he said. "The machine must be broken." "The machine is functioning perfectly," said, but his voice had changed. The cruelty was gone. Something else was there now, something that might have been the beginning of fear. He pressed another button. 4 units. Finished her nutrition bar. She folded the wrapper neatly and put it in her pocket. She looked at with calm, patient eyes. "Is this the test?" she asked. Her voice was steady, not strained, not struggling, just a normal voice asking a normal question. Closed his eyes again, but this time he was smiling. The classroom had become absolutely silent. No whispers, no laughing, nothing but the soft hum of the gravity platform and the sound of 40 species holding their breath. Stared at the human girl, standing in 4 times normal gravity like it was nothing. His 4 hands trembled slightly as they hovered over the controls. He had wanted to humiliate her. He had wanted to teach her a lesson about her place in the galaxy. He had wanted to show everyone that species were inferior. Instead, he was beginning to understand something that changed everything. He pressed the button one more time. 5 units. Rolled her shoulders. She stretched her neck from side to side. Then she looked at and raised one eyebrow. "Is there more?" she asked. The classroom erupted into chaos. The chaos lasted for almost a full minute. Students shouted questions. Some jumped from their seats. They clicked their mandibles in confusion and alarm. They whispered to each other in their own language, their scales changing colors with their emotions. Through it all, stood on the platform at 5 times normal gravity. She waited patiently, like someone standing at a transport stop. Raised all 4 of his arms. "Silence," he commanded. "Everyone return to your seats immediately." The students obeyed, but slowly. They could not stop staring at the human girl. She was small, she was thin, she should be dead. At 5 units of gravity, her bones should have broken, her heart should have stopped, her organs should have failed. But she was standing there like nothing was wrong. "Turn it off," someone whispered. "Turn the machine off." Press the button. The gravity returned to normal. Did not stumble. She did not gasp for air. She simply stepped off the platform and looked around the room again. "Is there an empty seat?" she asked. Pointed to the chair next to him at the back of the room. Walked over and sat down. She moved easily, naturally, like she had not just done something impossible. The class remained silent, even had nothing to say. He stared at with his compound eyes, his mandibles opening and closing without sound. Stood at the front of the room for a long moment. Then he cleared his throat and continued his lecture, but his voice was different now, quieter, less certain. After class, the students filed out slowly. Many of them looked at as they passed, some with fear, some with curiosity, some with anger. She ignored them all. Stayed in his seat until the room was almost empty. Then he leaned toward. "You should not have done that," he said quietly. "You should have pretended to struggle. That is what and I do. We hide what we are." Looked at him. "Why?" "Because they are afraid of us," said. "And afraid people do terrible things." Before could answer, a shadow fell over their desk. They looked up to see a girl standing beside them. She was smaller than the others of her kind, with scales that were more silver than gold. Her eyes were wide with excitement rather than fear. "That was amazing," the girl said. "I am Sira, is my brother, but please do not hold that against me. I am nothing like him." Blinked, "Okay. I have so many questions," Sira continued. She sat down in the seat on the other side without being invited. "Your planet is really 7. The database says your gravity is almost 10 times what we consider normal. Is that true?" "Earth's gravity is about 1 unit by your standards," said. That platform was not impressive. "But 5 units is heavy," agreed. "But humans can survive much worse for short periods. Our bodies are built different." Sira's scales flickered with colors. Blue, then green, then purple. It seemed to indicate excitement. "Built different how? I want to know everything. I want to understand." Stood up, "This is not a good idea," he said. "We should go." But Sira was already pulling out a data pad. "The records say your species evolved in an environment of constant threat. Predators that could tear through metal, weather systems that destroyed cities, diseases that killed millions. How did you survive?" Thought about the question. Nobody had ever asked her that before. Most species just assumed humans were weak because they looked weak. They never bothered to ask how a weak species could survive on a world that killed everything else. "We adapted," said slowly. "Every generation, the ones who could not survive died. The ones who could lived and had children. After millions of years, only the strong were left." "Survival of the fittest," Sira said. "We have heard of this concept, but most species reached civilization before such intense selection could occur. Your world did not allow that." "No," agreed. "Earth never stopped trying to kill us, even after we built cities, even after we created technology. There were earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, ice ages, plagues. The planet never let us rest." Sira's scales had turned a deep, thoughtful blue. "So you evolved to survive anything." "To survive everything," corrected. "Humans can survive temperatures that would freeze your blood or boil it. We can survive without water for days, without food for weeks. We can survive injuries that would kill any other species in this school. We heal from things that should be fatal." "That is terrifying," Sira whispered, but she did not look terrified. She looked fascinated. Took's arm, "We need to go now." But before they could move, appeared in the doorway. He blocked their path with his armored body, his mandibles clicking with anger. "A trick," he said. "The machine was broken, or you cheated somehow. There is no way a primitive could withstand 5 units." "The machine was working fine," said calmly. "Your instructor confirmed it." "Then you are some kind of freak," said. "A mutation, an exception. Your kind is weak and inferior. Everyone knows this." Sira said sharply, "Stop. Stay out of this, sister." Took a step toward. "Let me tell you something. Strength is nothing without speed. They are the apex predators of this galaxy because we are fast. We are precise. We kill before our prey knows we are there. You may survive gravity, but you could never match our reflexes." Looked at him. Something changed in her eyes. Something cold and ancient and very, very patient. "Is that what you think?" she asked. "I know it," said. "You are slow, clumsy creatures. Your reaction times are measured in whole seconds. We move faster than you can see." Did not respond with words. She moved. One moment she was standing next to, 15 meters from. The next moment she was directly in front of so close that her nose almost touched his mandibles. She had crossed the entire distance in the time it took to blink. The gravity platform was still on. She had moved that fast while still under the residual effects of 5 times normal gravity. Fell backward. He crashed into the desks behind him, sending data pads and study materials flying everywhere. His armored limbs scrambled for purchase on the smooth floor as he tried to get away from the human girl who had appeared in front of him like a ghost. The other students in the hallway heard the crash. They rushed to the doorway and saw their leader on the floor, eyes wide with terror, while a small human girl stood over him. "You were saying?" asked. Her voice was still calm, still patient, like she was asking about the weather. Said nothing. He could not speak. He could only stare. Sira stood frozen by her seat, her scales shifting through every color in rapid succession, had his hand over his face. He knew that everything had just changed. Word of this would spread. By tomorrow, everyone in the academy would know. The humans were not weak. The humans were not slow. The humans were something else entirely. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Stepped back from, she offered him her hand to help him up. He did not take it. He scrambled to his feet on his own and pushed past his companions into the hallway. His clicking mandibles sounded different now. They sounded like fear. Sira approached slowly, carefully, like approaching a wild animal. "I want to know everything about your world," she said again. But this time her voice was barely a whisper. "Please, I need to understand what you are." Looked at her for a long moment. Then, for the first time since she arrived at the academy, she smiled. "Sure," she said, "I have time." Shook his head and followed them out of the classroom. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson about humans. He just hoped they were all ready for it. The video spread through the academy network faster than light. Within hours, every student had seen it. A small human girl standing in 5 times normal gravity like it was nothing. The same human girl appearing in front of a warrior faster than the eye could follow. By the next morning, everything had changed. Noticed it as soon as she entered the cafeteria for breakfast. The room went quiet. Hundreds of eyes turned to look at her. Some students moved away from her path. Others stared with open curiosity. A few, mostly, glared with anger and hate. She got her food and looked for somewhere to sit. Most tables suddenly became very crowded. Students moved their bags and books to fill empty seats. They did not want to sit near the... "Over here," a voice called. Looked across the cafeteria and saw waving from a table in the corner. Sira sat next to him, her silver scales bright under the artificial lights. There was also another human at the table, a girl with short hair and glasses who had not met before. She walked over and sat down. The conversations around them slowly started again, but quieter than before. Everyone was listening. "This is," said, "she is one of us. She has been here for 3 years." Nodded but did not smile. "You have made things difficult," she said. "We spent years being invisible, hiding what we are. Now everyone knows." "Everyone knew we were from Earth before," said. "They just did not care." "That was better," said. "Being ignored is better than being feared." Sira leaned forward. "I do not understand. Why did you hide? Your abilities are amazing. Why would you pretend to be less than you are?" Looked at the girl with tired eyes. "Because your people tried to destroy us once before. 50 years ago, when humans first made contact with the galaxy, we did not hide. We showed what we could do. We thought it would earn us respect." "What happened?" Sira asked. "The Galactic Council voted to classify Earth as a quarantine world," said. "They wanted to trap us on our own planet forever. They said we were too dangerous to allow into the galaxy." Sira's scales turned gray with shame. "I did not know this." "The vote failed by only a small margin," continued. "Some species argued that humans could be useful. We could go places others could not. Survive conditions others could not. The council decided to allow limited human migration, but with strict monitoring and control." "We are watched," said. "Always. Everything we do is recorded and reported. If we show too much of what we can do, if we seem too dangerous, the vote could happen again. And this time it might pass." Listened to all of this in silence. She understood their fear. She understood their caution. But she also understood something else. "They will never accept us if we keep hiding," she said. "They will never see us as equals if we pretend to be weak." "And if they see us as threats?" asked. "Then we make sure they understand we are not their enemies. replied. We do not have to choose between being weak and being dangerous. We can be strong and still be good. Before anyone could respond, a tall figure appeared at their table. Commander Vex was but older than any had seen. His exoskeleton was indented from years of combat. One of his compound eyes was clouded and blind. He was the Academy's security chief, and he did not look happy. Of Earth, he said. His voice clicked and buzzed in the way of his species. Come with me now. The cafeteria fell silent again. Every student watched as stood and followed the warrior out of the room. Commander Vex's office was deep in the Academy's security section. The walls were lined with screens showing camera feeds from every corridor. In the center of the room was a desk covered with reports and documents. Vex sat behind the desk and studied with his one good eye. I have read your file, he said. I have read the classified files on 7. I know what humans are capable of. Said nothing, she waited. Your species should not exist, Vex continued. The conditions on your world should have killed you millions of years ago. Instead, they made you into something unprecedented. You are stronger than species twice your size, faster than species built for speed, more durable than species covered in armor. We had no choice, said. Adapt or die, we chose to adapt. And now you are here, Vex said, in my academy causing trouble. I defended myself against instructor's test, said calmly. I did nothing wrong. No, Vex agreed. You did not, but you revealed something that many species would prefer to remain hidden. There are powers in this galaxy that see humans as a threat, not because of what you have done, but because of what you could do. We do not want to be a threat, said. We want to learn, we want to explore, we want to be part of the galaxy. And if the galaxy does not want you, met his clouded eye directly, then the galaxy will have to change its mind. Vex made a sound that might have been a laugh. You have courage, I will give you that, but courage is not enough. If you reveal too much, if you scare the wrong people, there will be consequences, not just for you, but for every human in the galaxy. What would you have me do? Asked. Hide, pretend to be weak. Let people like mock and attack my people without response. I would have you be smart, Vex said. Choose your battles, win the ones that matter, and try not to start a war before you finish school. He stood and walked to the door. You are dismissed, but remember what I said. The galaxy is watching you now. Every move you make will be recorded, analyzed, and judged. Do not give them a reason to fear you. Left the security section and found Ansira waiting for her in the corridor. What happened? Asked. A warning, said. He told me to be careful. Will you? Asked. Will you be careful? Thought about the question. She thought about all the years humans had spent hiding, all the years they had pretended to be less than they were, all the years they had accepted being treated as inferior. I will try, she said finally, but I will not go back to hiding. I will not pretend to be weak. If that scares people, then they will have to learn that being strong does not mean being dangerous. Sira's scales flickered with nervous colors. My brother is gathering allies. He says what happened in the classroom was a humiliation. He says he will make you pay. Let him try, said. That night walked alone through the academy's lower corridors. She was looking for the training hall where students could practice combat techniques. She had heard it was open all night for anyone who wanted to use it. She found there instead. He was the third human student at the academy. Tall, athletic, with the confident posture of someone who knew exactly what his body could do. He was running through a combat routine on one of the training platforms, moving faster than any non-human could follow. When he saw, he stopped and smiled. I heard about you, he said. The girl who stood in 5 times gravity and then outran a. Word travels fast, said. In this place, everything travels fast. Stepped off the platform and approached her. I have been waiting for someone like you. What do you mean? Someone who does not want to hide anymore, said. is too afraid, is too careful, but you showed everyone what we really are. I have wanted to do that since I arrived." "It might cause trouble," said. "Commander Vex told me the galaxy is watching." "Let them watch," replied. "Let them see what humans can do. We have been apologizing for existing for too long. We are not inferior. We are not primitive. We are survivors of a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. That deserves respect." Looked at him for a long moment, then she smiled. "Show me what you can do," she said. And he did. 3 days passed. 3 days of whispers and stares. 3 days of students moving out of his path. 3 days of gathering his allies and making threats that grew louder each day. On the fourth night it happened. Was walking back to her quarters through a maintenance corridor. It was a shortcut she had discovered, a back route that avoided the crowded main halls. It was also isolated, empty, perfect for an ambush. She heard them before she saw them. The clicking of mandibles, the heavy footsteps of armored bodies, the sound of too many beings trying to move quietly. Stopped walking. She stood in the center of the corridor and waited. They emerged from the shadows. Came first, his compound eyes burning with hatred. Behind him were 12 more students, 13 against 1. They had chosen their numbers carefully, enough to overwhelm, not so many that it would look like cowardice. "No witnesses this time," said. His voice was cold and sharp. "No cameras, no instructors to protect you, just us and you." Looked at them, counted them, measured them. Her body was already calculating angles and distances. Her muscles were already preparing for what came next. "This does not have to happen," she said. "You can walk away." Laughed. The other joined him, their mandibles clicking in cruel amusement. "Walk away, after what you did to me, after you humiliated me in front of the entire academy." He stepped closer, his armored body towering over her small frame. "I am going to show everyone what due to prey that forgets its place." "I am not prey," said quietly. "All are prey," replied. "You are just too stupid to know it." He swung at her. His arm was fast, faster than most species could track. His claws could cut through metal. His blow could shatter bone. Was not there. She moved to the left just enough to avoid his strike. Her hand came up and pushed against his arm, redirecting his momentum. He stumbled forward, off balance for just a moment. That moment was all she needed. Her knee came up into his abdomen, finding the gap between his armored plates. He gasped and doubled over. Her elbow came down on the back of his neck, hitting the nerve cluster that controlled his lower limbs. He collapsed. 2 seconds, that was all it took. The others stared in shock. Their leader was on the ground, groaning in pain, and the human girl had not even changed her breathing. Then they attacked together. What followed was not really a fight. A fight implies some equality between opponents, some chance that either side could win. This was something else. This was a demonstration. Moved through them like water through rocks. She did not meet their strength with strength. She used their own force against them. When a swung at her, she stepped aside and guided his arm into another attacker. When one tried to grab her, she dropped low and swept his legs out from under him. When 3 came at her at once, she was already somewhere else, hitting pressure points and joint connections that their armor did not protect. They were strong. They were fast. They had spent their entire evolutionary history as apex predators, the top of every food chain on there. But they had never met something from Earth. On Earth, there was no top of the food chain. Everything was prey to something else. Everything was a predator to something else. Humans had survived not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being the most adaptable, the most creative, the most relentless. Millions of years of evolution had taught humans exactly where bodies were weak, how joints bent, where nerves clustered, how to use momentum and leverage instead of raw force. Had learned these things before she could read. 43 seconds, that was how long it took. 43 seconds and 13 warriors were on the ground. Some were unconscious. Some were groaning in pain. All of them were defeated. Stood in the center of the corridor, breathing slowly and steadily. She had a split lip where one lucky strike had connected. That was the only mark on her. Was trying to push himself up. His arms shook. His mandibles clicked weakly. What are you?" he gasped. Looked down at him. In her eyes there was no anger, no triumph, just a deep, ancient patience that came from generations of surviving the impossible. "I am human," she said. "That is all, just human." She reached down and grabbed his arm, pulling him to his feet. He was too stunned to resist. "Your species became predators because nothing on your world could challenge you," she continued. "You evolved to hunt prey that could not fight back. You never had to adapt, never had to change, never had to grow." She released him and stepped back. "My species became what we are because everything on our world tried to kill us. The weather, the land, the animals, the diseases, even each other. We survived all of it. We learned to survive all of it, and now we are here." Stared at her with something new in his compound eyes. Not hatred, not anger, fear, yes, but also something else. Something that might have been the beginning of understanding. "You could have killed us," he said. "All of us, you held back." "Yes," agreed. "I did, because being strong does not mean being cruel, because being a predator does not mean being a monster. Humans learned that lesson a long time ago. Maybe your species should learn it too." The sound of running footsteps echoed down the corridor. Security officers arrived, led by Commander Vex himself. They stopped when they saw the scene. 13 on the ground. One human standing among them, barely harmed. Vex looked at the security footage from his data pad. He had been monitoring the corridors, even the ones that were supposed to be unwatched. He had seen everything. 13 against 1, he said slowly, and the 1 won. "They attacked me," he said. "I defended myself. I did not start this." Vex nodded. His face showed no expression, but something flickered in his one good eye, something that might have been respect. "The footage is clear," he said. "This was an unprovoked assault, and his associates will face suspension and disciplinary action." He paused. "You are free to go." Walked past the security officers without another word. As she turned the corner, she found and waiting for her. They had heard the commotion. They had come running. Looked at her split lip. "Are you okay?" "I am fine," said. "A small cut, it will heal." "What happened?" asked. Her voice was tense with worry. 13 tried to teach me my place," replied. "I taught them something instead." Smiled. It was a fierce smile, full of pride. "They will think twice before attacking a human again." "That is not the point," said. She looked at her companions, these other humans who had spent years hiding what they were. "The point is not to make them afraid. The point is to show them that we are not their enemies. That strength does not mean danger." Shook her head. "They will never see it that way. To them, power means threat, always." "Then we change what power means," said. "We show them that humans use their strength to help, to protect, to build, not to conquer, not to destroy." "How?" asked. Before could answer, the Academy's emergency alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed in the corridors. A voice came over the speakers, calm but urgent. "Attention all students and faculty. Priority emergency transmission received. A research station on the frontier has gone silent. Volunteer students are requested for a potential rescue mission. Classification: extremely dangerous. Survival probability for most species: minimal." Looked at her fellow humans. She smiled. "Like that," she said. "We show them like that." She turned and walked toward the emergency assembly point where volunteers were gathering. After a moment followed. Then, and finally reluctantly. The galaxy was about to see what humans were really for. The research station was dying. Could see it through the viewport of the rescue shuttle as they approached. The station called Outpost 7 drifted in space near a dying star. Radiation storms swept across its hull in waves of deadly light. Parts of the structure were torn open, exposing corridors to the vacuum of space. Emergency lights flickered weakly through the remaining windows. 12 researchers are trapped inside, Commander Vex said. His voice came through the communication system, calm and professional. Life support is failing. Hull breaches have filled sections with toxic atmosphere. Radiation levels in the damaged areas are lethal for most species. He paused. For most species. Looked around the shuttle, sat beside her checking his equipment, was stretching his muscles preparing for action. Even was there, quiet and nervous but determined. And Sierra had come too. The girl had insisted on joining the mission. She was not strong like the humans. She could not survive the radiation or the toxic air, but she had skills in technology and medicine that might be useful. Commander Vex had allowed her to join as support, staying in the safe sections while the humans did the dangerous work. "This is crazy," Sierra said. Her scales were pale with fear. "You cannot go in there. The radiation alone will kill you." "No," said, "it will hurt us, but it will not kill us, not quickly enough to matter." "Your confidence is either inspiring or insane," Sierra replied. "I cannot decide which." The shuttle docked with the station's only functioning airlock. The door opened with a hiss of escaping air. "This is where I stay," Sierra said. She moved to the shuttle's medical bay, where she would monitor the team's vital signs and prepare for treating injuries. "Please come back alive." "We always do," said with a smile. "That is what humans are good at." The 4 humans entered the station. Immediately, alarms began flashing on their equipment. Radiation levels were already twice what most species could survive. The air smelled wrong, filled with chemicals that would destroy lungs in minutes. Breathed in slowly. The air burned slightly. Her body immediately began filtering out the worst of the toxins. It hurt, but she could handle it. "The researchers are trapped in Section 7, said, checking his scanner. "That is through 2 breached corridors and a collapsed maintenance shaft." "Then we go through 2 breached corridors and a collapsed maintenance shaft," replied. "Move fast. Our bodies can handle this, but not forever." They ran. The first corridor was open to space on one side. The emergency shields held atmosphere inside, but barely. The temperature dropped to freezing. Ice formed on the walls and floor. The humans ran through it like it was nothing. The second corridor was worse. A fire had burned through here, leaving the air thick with poisonous smoke. The walls glowed with heat. Metal had melted and reformed into strange shapes. The humans ran through it without slowing. The collapsed maintenance shaft required them to climb through twisted metal and broken machinery. Sharp edges cut their suits. Radiation pulsed from damaged equipment. The passage was barely wide enough for them to fit. The humans pushed through anyway. Section 7 was a large research lab. Wen and her team finally reached it. They found 12 researchers huddled in the center of the room. They were from various species. Others did not recognize. They had sealed themselves in the safest part of the station and waited for rescue. They had not expected the rescue to be 4 human teenagers. How are you alive?" one of the scientists asked. "The radiation levels outside should have killed you 3 times over." "We are from Earth," said simply. "We are harder to kill. Now come with us. We are getting you out." The evacuation was slow and difficult. The researchers could not survive the conditions that the humans had walked through. They had to find a different path, a safer route that protected the weaker species from the dangers. Found a maintenance tunnel that was mostly intact. The radiation was lower there, the atmosphere less toxic. It would work. "I will go first," said. "Clear the path and check for dangers." "I will take the rear," added. "Make sure nobody falls behind." That left and to guide the researchers through the middle. One by one, they helped the frightened scientists into the tunnel. One by one, they led them toward safety. But the station was not done dying. Halfway through the tunnel, a section of the ceiling collapsed. Metal and machinery came crashing down, blocking the path and trapping an elderly scientist under the debris. The others cried out in panic. They tried to run back but blocked their way. "Stay calm," he ordered. "We will handle this." Pushed forward to the fallen scientist. That was small, with delicate features and large, frightened eyes. She was pinned under a heavy beam, unable to move. "Please," she whispered, "please help me." Knelt beside her. The beam was heavy, far too heavy for any normal person to lift, but was not normal. She was human. She braced her feet against the floor. She gripped the beam with both hands. She took a deep breath. And she lifted. Her muscles screamed, her bones ached. The radiation and toxins in her blood made every movement harder, but she kept lifting, she kept pushing, she refused to stop. The beam rose, centimeter by centimeter, just enough for to pull the scientist free. Dropped the beam and fell to her knees, gasping for breath. Her hands were bleeding, her body shook with exhaustion, but the scientist was safe. "Why?" the asked as helped her stand. "Why would you risk yourself for me? You do not even know me." Looked up at her with tired eyes. "Because you needed help," she said. "That is enough." The rest of the evacuation was a blur of pain and determination. The humans pushed themselves beyond every limit, carrying researchers who could not walk, shielding them from radiation, breathing toxic air so the others did not have to. When they finally reached the shuttle, Sira was waiting with medical supplies ready. She worked quickly, treating injuries and radiation exposure with skilled hands. "You are all insane," she said as she bandaged hands. "Completely, absolutely insane." "Maybe," admitted, "but everyone is alive." The shuttle pulled away from the station just as the final hull breach occurred. Outpost 7 broke apart behind them, consumed by the dying star's radiation. But 12 researchers who should have died were safe inside the shuttle. 12 lives saved by 4 teenagers from a. The trip back to the academy was quiet. The researchers looked at the humans with new eyes, not fear, not disgust, something else entirely. When they arrived, a crowd was waiting. News of the rescue had spread. Students and faculty lined the docking bay, watching as the shuttle door opened. Walked out first. She was exhausted, burned, cut, and poisoned. She was also standing straight and tall, meeting the eyes of everyone who looked at her. Behind her came the researchers, supported by the other humans. One by one, they emerged into the light of the academy. The crowd was silent. Then someone started clapping, then another, then more and more until the entire docking bay echoed with applause. Commander Vex approached. His face was unreadable, but his one good eye held something new: respect, real respect. "You did the impossible," he said. "You went into conditions rated unsurvivable and brought everyone back alive." "We did what humans do," replied. "We survived, we helped, that is all." Vex nodded slowly. "I will be recommending that human emergency response training be added to the academy curriculum. If your species can teach even a fraction of your survival abilities to others, it will save countless lives." He offered her his hand, a gesture of warrior respect. Took it. The next morning arrived at instructor's class. On time. She took her seat without a word, ignoring the stares and whispers around her. Looked at her for a long moment. The cruelty was gone from his eyes. The superiority was gone from his posture. He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Then quietly he nodded. Class began. Sira slid into the seat beside, her scales shimmering with warm colors. "You changed everything," she whispered. "Everyone is talking about what you did, what humans can do, what humans are." Smiled, "And what are we?" Sira thought about the question. She thought about the gravity test, the speed demonstration, the fight in the corridor, the rescue mission. all the impossible things she had seen the humans do. "You are survivors," she said finally. "You are helpers. You are the species that runs toward danger instead of away from it, and I think—" She paused, her scales turning a thoughtful blue. "I think the galaxy needed you, even if we did not know it." Looked out the window at the stars beyond the academy. Somewhere out there was Earth, her home, that had made her people what they were. "We needed the galaxy too," she said softly. "We spent so long alone, fighting our world, fighting each other. Now we have somewhere else to go, something else to be, a chance to show that what makes us dangerous can also make us good." Sierra's hand touched his arm, a gesture of friendship. "Then welcome to the galaxy," she said. "All of you, finally." Smiled and turned back to face the front of the class. The lecture had started. There was so much to learn, so much to do, so much to prove. But for the first time since she arrived at the academy, she felt like she belonged. And that was worth everything.